This week, we look at some new expansions for some ZMan Games, and we have some news from across the pond.
After that, it's our topic of the week, party planning. We're going to give you our tips on how you can best get your game night started. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler, and this is the Roll for Crit podcast. Now, if you've been paying attention to Magic recently, they've been releasing special sets called From the Vault. These sets come with a certain number of promos, which usually go around a theme, such as legendary creatures, really strong old cards, lands, dragons, and so on. They've just announced their new set, From the Vault Annihilation. These will come with the cards that are used in the game to sort of clear the board, so to speak. These are like the cards you use for mass destruction.
Hence Annihilation?
Yes, these are the nukes of Magic.
How many cards come?
15, and 6 of them will be alternative art, and they're all nice and pretty and foily. So it's usually something to go for really fast. It usually jumps in price really quickly. So if you can get your hands on it, do.
So it's limited edition
yes,
kind of thing. It's
one of those limited. So if people want it, everyone wants to get their hands on it, and usually they'll come out with older version of cards that are usually harder to get. So then, it's everyone wants a copy.
So are these like really powerful cards? I mean, can you mix them into any kind of deck, or are there special rules with when you can use them or not?
Most of them, as far as I know, you can mix them in with the regular, like any other card rule in Magic. These cards don't differ from their other counterparts. It's not like they add special promo text onto them. It's just sort of another printing of them.
Okay.
It's just a way to get a whole bunch of really cool cards, like different artwork that are foily, and also maybe some rare cards. Like there's some sets that they just, because it's so long ago, there just aren't that many copies floating around.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I love what they do. My biggest problem isn't what Magic does. It's because the card stores, because the prices will be it'll sell for like $100 maybe, because it's a lot of rare cards for some of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
But then they'll jump up to like 200 or something for like the ones that everyone wants because they never come around or something.
I think the retail on this is like $35 or something, right?
Yeah, this one will probably jump up to like maybe 100 depending on what cards are in it.
Well, I'm not going to buy it.
There's a reason why you don't play Magic.
That's right.
And unfortunately, I do.
Well, we got some more new game releases, new additions to old games to talk about. A couple announced from ZMan Games in the last week. First is for Carcassonne. They're actually their 9th expansion.
Ooh, wow.
It features hills and sheep. The title of the expansion, Carcassonne, Hills and Sheep.
Ooh, yeah. I know you love your sheep.
I do. And don't get me started on hills. Don't even get me started. So it's going to involve, you're going to be able to be a shepherd of sheep, and there's going to be wolves, though, that you have to protect your sheep from. Sounds kind of interesting. The other one coming out is Robinson Crusoe. If anyone's familiar with that game, it's a co-op island survival adventure.
Very fun.
Yeah, the new one is titled Voyage of the Beagle, in reference to the ship that Darwin actually took back in the 1800s during his whole, the start of his theory of evolution and all that stuff. So you actually play as Darwin and his crew during the genesis of the theory of evolution.
That's pretty awesome.
It is pretty, and I think it's interesting because it's pretty different from the base game. Like it's cool that they're going to take that same concept, but really, I think, a unique spin on it.
Also, I'm pretty sure, isn't the expansion look like it's in a book?
Yeah, it has a cool kind of, I don't know if that's necessarily final box art.
I hope so, because that just...
Probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. So look forward to that.
And if you don't have those games, we suggest trying both of them out. Both of them are great games without their expansions. Right. But obviously, I'm always just getting every expansion because I'm obsessed with making sure having a complete set.
You have a problem.
I do.
One of many.
One of many. At least I still have my hair, though. Let's talk about going over to England.
Well, I'd love to.
The Prime Minister of the UK just received a game from an independent developer over there called Jack. David Cameron, who, if you don't know, is the Prime Minister, received the game and is excited to play this game with his kids because it is educational, along with being able to spend time and play games. And for him, he's excited about that because he feels his kids play too many video games and TV. So And also, it's a fun way to probably actually get together with the family that hopefully won't feel too much like just dragging them along.
Right.
And they don't care. The game developer himself is an independent developer. His game has apparently been selling a lot and doing very well. And there's actually a really interesting article from the developer. Actually, I should say that his name, Sean Delaney. How could I forget?
Oh, good name.
Quote, he actually said, Mr. Delaney said that many independent board game developers are actually having a lot of trouble because families they're tricked into the cheap TV quiz games and stuff. And also a lot of the staff who sell these games and stuff don't really have the knowledge to sell them. Like, they don't know how to explain them and everything.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting because from our standpoint, we look at a lot of games and you see you're obviously drawn a little bit towards the copyright ones in your head. Licensed games, whether they're good or bad. And I mean, there's a lot of independent games. We've played some and we've seen they're just amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I think, there's a lot, but you think you wouldn't pick this up if you didn't know anything about it.
That's true. I mean, I think it's to an extent, video games have the same problem, but I think there's much less awareness. Because if you're a parent, the average person buying games for their family, you're just going for, Monopoly and Trivial Pursuit. You don't really know what you're doing, and it isn't as much, because so many of them, unless you have a dedicated hobby shop, if you just walk into a toy store, they can't really help you on giving you any recommendations for what.
No, but I mean, we should note though that it is becoming if you go into whatever your generic chain near you is, for us it would be like a Target. You'll look and they'll see now have Catan, Munchkin. Right. They're slowly expanding.
Yeah, that's
a great sign, and hopefully it will continue.
I do like though that it used to be you would present the king with a gift of gold or something, and now you give him a board game.
Oh no, of course, yes.
Yeah, not that he's a king, but it's close enough.
Close enough.
It's England. Yeah. Even at Barnes & Noble you can find games.
Yeah.
That's a note from our producer. Anyway, anything else about our friend the Prime Minister?
Other than he's excited that this game is going to teach his kids.
Do you know anything about how the game plays? Or
apparently, actually, if you haven't played this game, which we've played, Last Word, apparently it sounds similar to that. The way it works is you go on a space and you land on a letter, and you try to come up with as many answers that start with that letter as you can. But apparently there's also a strategic way to knock people back and stuff. So it sounds sort of like you still do the words and keep trying to think of new words and stuff, but there seems to be some kind of strategic planning as well. So it's not just keep moving forward until you get to the goal.
Yeah, sounds interesting. Sounds like kind of a fun, light game. Finally, coming back over to America, as you know, or maybe you don't, the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule set, starter's guide and everything is coming out this summer. And earlier in the week, Wizards of the Coast put out the basic rule set for free online. So it doesn't include things like actual quests and stuff like that, so you can't actually play a game with it. But it's pretty in-depth. They released a pretty major thing. I actually started reading some of it. Not as a seasoned veteran by any means of Dungeons & Dragons.
Neither am I.
I did read most of it and found it very interesting. But as I've been made aware, some of the big differences in this from the previous version are a much stronger, less focus on rules of combat and much more of a focus on the role playing itself. So there's more, they reward you more for being in character and acting in accordance with the race you chose and your backstory and stuff like that. There's a couple new things if you have an advantage or a disadvantage in a certain skill, you roll 2 dice and take either the higher or lower result. Which sounds like kind of a neat mechanic. But it sounds like fun, and I am pushing to get us started on Dungeons & Dragons.
So finally, all that cosplay I have will come to use.
That's right. It's really, you don't want to go into his
I get extra dice, right, if I'm wearing a cloak or something?
Sure. That's what you want.
So that's really all our gaming news.
Yeah, I did want to also just to quickly mention this dice shaming thing.
Oh, of course.
That I just thought was funny, this trend to start. If anyone's seen, in the past there's been, well, I guess, pet shaming.
Yes.
Where like they would post a sad picture of a dog with a piece of paper like I threw up on my mom's rug or something.
I pooed in front of the guests. Something silly.
Yeah. Well, there's this new thing some people have been doing with dice shaming, where they post their bad rolls as if it was the dice's fault and give them a note. And I definitely have been. I like that because it takes the pressure off of me and puts all the blame onto the dice.
It's still your fault.
No. There's been a particular set of bad rolls when we played Firefly that one time that I would like to shame some dice for. But look that up because it's funny.
Yeah. Before we get on to our topic of the week,
yes,
I have some, well, not gaming news, but some Roll for Crit news.
Oh.
We would like to congratulate our cameraman, Ivan, for getting engaged.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Sorry, man, he's taken now.
I didn't know this was going to happen. Oh, wow. You know, I should also say, and then on the subject, my sister got married last weekend, so...
it was fun to get the text from him during the wedding, I will tell you that.
So congratulations all around to our friends and family.
Oh, yeah.
For dedicating their lives to other people while we stand alone.
Well, speaking of trying to fill that empty hole...
That's right.
Our topic of the week, party planning.
Racing. Our topic of the week this week, party planning. That means planning parties, which we've done so many times because we're quite the social butterflies.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to be to play board games. So I think what we're really talking about this week is not your run-of-the-mill game night, but when you have more of an event, perhaps when you know you're not certain about who exactly is coming. It's rather than your core, like 3 or 4 people coming to play a specific game or something like that. So we want to talk a little bit about some of the best options for eateries and how to determine which games are the best to play depending on how many people you have coming and stuff like that. You want to start with food because that seems like a pretty...
Well, no, I think before all of that, this is like you can't even think about any of those before you make this decision.
I already started thinking about it.
What is the theme? Like, is it a summer party? Are you going outside?
Well, you're going.
Is this more of like, is this like New Year's Eve? Like, do you plan to do a lot of drinking? Is this like, those are the things you got to look at first. Because that really bends which way, what kind of food you're going to bring, whether people are going to bring their own food, like how drunk you're expecting people to be.
Well, I think if it's any kind of a holiday, like New Year's Eve or whatever, you really have to plan on only, very party casual friendly games. Because at something like that, people are going to be, like you said, drinking, and probably are going to have more people than average. And from experience, we know it can be hard when you have a lot of people to get anything really going, because everybody's talking and music and blah, 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 blah. But for a run-of-the-mill or whatever, not a run-of-the-mill, in the between level, for just a night in the summer or something.
Sorry.
Jinx? No, go ahead.
Well, if you want, I think, let's say these are people you know, mostly. Yeah. So you have a general idea who's coming.
Right.
And, like, you didn't just literally invite everyone on Facebook.
You're not just like, you didn't put an ad up on Craigslist and come on down and some clue.
I think you always got to have some form of chips and dip beforehand, before you start playing games. Because usually, like, when you start, everyone's talking, doing something else.
Well, I mean, the big factor is greasiness, right?
Right.
I mean, that with any food, your major thing is, we'll get to it. Your major thing is getting the cards and the pieces of the game dirty. Right?
Well, that's why I feel like there's like a party usually has the snacking time, the actually eating time, and that's when you clean the table, and then you get to gaming time.
Well. Ideally.
Of course, this is the ideal situation.
But I think there are some chips or something on the table are okay.
Well, it depends. Like, I would say like tortilla chips are not too bad. But like Cheetos?
Well, yes. If it's got cheese, that's a no-no. That's absolutely not okay. Even like popcorn kind of has that like the white kind of popcorn. Well, it depends which,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, not real popcorn, but like bagged popcorn.
Cheddar.
But I mean, like anything beyond chips is a danger. Pizza, really anything, you just can't. Especially like you said, people are eating instead of playing.
Well, another big danger, no matter what, are drinks. Like it doesn't matter what drink you choose. They are always a danger because those people might get full on snacks, but people usually will always still be drinking, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And there will always be times someone will knock it over, or someone will drop a piece when picking it up, or someone will maybe put something like sugar in their drink, causing it to fizz over and almost
start a little science experiment right on the table. It could happen, it could happen. No, we try to institute a policy of no drinks on the table. We don't try too hard to enforce it though.
Well, it's hard to.
It's hard because sometimes.
Well, because it's even on the ground, it's even more just as bad.
Yeah, that's possible too. But sometimes you feel like I don't want to be like no drinks on the table because then people are like, well, who's this jerk? Why am I coming to his party?
You already think that. Don't worry.
I know. I try though. I try not to make it worse. But yeah, if you put them on the floor, people just kick them over at that point.
But what about main foods like the entree, like dinner? Let's assume.
I mean, well, the other aspect of food that we always run into a problem with is length of time it takes to eat.
Ooh, yeah.
So if you want to get to the actual games, you want to cut down the time. So pizza, I think, really is the ultimate. Usually.
No question. I would agree with that. You can feed a lot of people. Usually, you can get delivered, so you can be doing other things.
Fairly cheap, easy to split
price.
up. And
you can usually feed most people whatever their dietary concerns are with it.
Right.
I mean, with a few exceptions, we can't. If there is someone with it, you're on your own finding their answer.
Crust intolerant.
Oh, I was thinking more gluten
cheese,
or lactose.
Yeah.
Actual.
Yeah.
I mean,
some people are intolerant of crust.
Just make sure that's your big thing. You got to find this out. It's up to you.
Right. You got to research the people that are coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. You have no blame if someone happened to bring a guest along you didn't know they were going to bring the habit. But I mean, if you had a friend who had one of these allergies, make sure there's an option for them.
Well, I do think you alluded to earlier, like a potluck can be really fun.
We'll get to that after we finish with this.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's I think.
Well, I don't know what else really. I mean, sandwiches are okay.
Sandwiches are good, but I think unfortunately what usually happens at a lot of these events, people want to go out because this is more big gathering. They want to go out and eat. So what do you do in that situation then?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta.
Besides defriending them and never seeing them again.
Gotta be somewhere close and fast. I think, especially if you have a larger group, it can be tough. I mean, this is true for not even just a party. Anytime you're going out to eat with people, and check splitting, that's a whole nightmare. That's why I really think it's usually best to bring something in. It just avoids a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. Now, can I talk about potlucks?
No. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have much to say. I just think they're cool.
No, that is also, I think, actually equally optimal because that's like pizza because everyone's already bringing the food. The food is there at the time.
Right.
And what that is, it's sort of like it gets the variety of going out, but at the same time, all the food's there.
And you could tell people to make board game themed foods.
Ooh, yeah.
Cookies shaped like meeples. Cookies shaped like other board game pieces?
Hints. He wants cookies at the next potluck.
Please send cookies. I think, but for food, that's mostly. I mean, alcohol is a concern depending on which games you're intending on playing.
Right.
So that goes back to how many people are coming. You have to know your audience, and you have to know what games you have that support how many different numbers of people. Because that's always a problem of. What do we play next? First of all, we can never decide anyway. But I think one thing that's tough, but I think you gotta be not afraid to do, is to split up your group.
Well, not even that. I think sometimes what you do is one group is even on a board game. You might give them Guitar Hero or, Little Big Planet, some kind of like a video game, or maybe put on a movie or something else, because maybe they're just not like board games, and that's understandable. We all have different tastes.
Not by me, but to some people it's understandable. But also it can be a problem if not everybody shows up at the same time. So a lot of times you start playing a game and people come halfway through and they're sitting around.
That's what the worst is when you decide to do a game and you just set it up and that's when they come in and of course you already have the max number, so you're like, And then
I mean, that pretty much happens to us every week. Like,
so that's actually how we get people to come. We're like, we need the last person to come for dinner. Let's set up a game. Oh, they're here.
no, if you don't do that, they'll never show up.
Exactly.
As soon as like you just finish setting up Arkham after 45 minutes, they'll walk right on in.
Oh, I think that's the most important thing that you remind me of, which is very hard to overlook sometimes. The board games, sometimes you have to understand, you may really want to play a game like Arkham. You know, one of those really, you go full in, really deep games. You're not going to probably get a chance to play them at these. People are either going to be, you know, drunk or not into games as much. You're not
unless you really know, unless you have a really core group of friends who are there for that, then that's a different situation. Another thing is playing music and stuff in the backy drop. I know I like my music on low because I tend to get distracted easily, and yeah.
I mean, definitely, I think it's about, like, can you talk normally and hear people?
That's the other, is that people tend to start shouting when there's music, and people get distracted, and that can be a whole
or, you know, they shout anyways, no matter what.
That's usually the case with us.
Well, there's also, I think, music choice. That's something, because, you know you're going to get into an argument, someone wants to play, you know, the pop hits, when someone else may want to play, like, you know, the classic 80s.
Ideally, for me, it's...
War will break out.
It's background music.
Yes.
It isn't, you know, you're not... As long as it's not screeching bagpipes or the latest David Lynch release.
I am so insulted.
I know. But is there anything you can, like, specific aside from food and stuff that you think it's good for people to bring to a party like this? I mean, or to have set up in advance. Like you want to have a good table. Obviously, you want to have enough chairs.
I would actually argue have 2 good tables.
Definitely.
Because I think what's really nice, we actually did this at your last Halloween party, which worked out really well. We have 1 table just for food, always.
Sure.
And then 1 was for the games, and this worked out really nicely. We didn't have to worry about cleaning up or doing other things.
And people can bring their own games.
They can.
They really can. Which can be good, can also be a little... Sometimes I feel bad if people bring games and I'm like, but I wanted to play my games. Take yours away.
Well, the worst is when they bring a game and you're like, there's no way we're going to be able to play. Like, like I said, Arkham Horror, there's no way we're going to play that.
Someone, often you... really, well, whoever's house we go to, the other person always is like, here's my 20 games. We're gonna get to all of them, right? You're always very optimistic.
Oh, no, now it's just like I'm bringing them just so they're there, because there's too many times I've missed one game, like someone's been like, did you bring Arkham? I'm like, no, I didn't this time.
Yeah, and going back to last week's topic too, if you're introducing a new game, you want to make sure you're not excluding anyone. They can learn the rules easily and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of trickiness there.
Trickiness?
Trickiness. But if you do it right, parties can be fun.
Oh, yeah.
You need them, really, to play a game.
I think one thing that helps us today, Facebook groups.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, now we can actually, people can say, I want to play this, or I'm going to bring this. And it just helps out.
Definitely utilize that.
Of course, our friends usually will start a group to respond.
Right. But in theory, it is a great idea, and will really help you organize and nail down what you want to do. I think that mostly sums up the parody business, you think?
I think so, but before we go, do you have any themes you suggest for some fun
party themes? Well, I know, actually, we've talked about and have not done a Greek-Roman kind of theme, because we have so many games with that theme to it. And to, you know, have like a toga party maybe, if we could have Greek food. That'd be pretty cool, and let's play all the Greek games.
I think a classic, but I think works really well with board game genre and all nerds, Halloween.
Sure, yeah. There's so many good horror games.
And if you do a Halloween party, we suggest to get you a great game that involves a VHS player.
Oh, yes. That'd be Nightmare. Classic. Out of print, but well, you know.
If you can find it. We played it. It's one you'll remember.
Yes. Not a good game, but a memorable one.
Yes.
I mean, any genre you could take. I don't know how you do well, you could do themes of just what you're playing. It's harder to do themes of the actual party.
And one we actually just had, sort of, because it's recent. If anyone has a pool, you know, pool party.
Oh yeah, that's true. Games that are better for the outdoors in the summertime, or maybe you could take on a picnic or something like that.
And if you have the time, which we totally forgot to do, you should since 4th of July just happened, you could have played Hanabi.
Right. Yeah, that's the big one. I know. Why didn't we do that? We should have done that.
We totally forgot. We just food and pool.
Hope you all had a good 4th of July weekend, by the way. Or not, or you didn't. But I think that's it. But before we head out, we have a little bit of viewer mail that we wanted to check in with.
So much mail.
Swoop! See, it was good. So, a good friend of the show, we don't know who he is, Troy, wrote in, and he had some stuff. He watched our episode where we talked about Kickstarter, which was a couple weeks ago. And he had a few recommendations of his own. He agreed with our assessment that Kickstarter can be a double-edged sword. But the few that he thought were promising, one is New Dawn, which you know a little stuff about.
Actually, yes. I believe I might have talked about this on the other one. If not, I'll mention it now. They previously did another game through Kickstarter, Among the Stars, which is a cool game, sort of like Seven Wonders, in which you're sort of you're taking turns taking tiles, and you're building your own little space station, which is really fun. You're all in a different race, which gives you a special trait, and I back that. And this Kickstarter just came out a little while ago. It's the story sequel, not game sequel, to this.
Same universe.
Same universe. It's like a different game, but it's the same universe. And this idea is that these stations have been built, they're costly though, so they're going back to all the planets that were ravaged, and they're like picking up the old technology from there. And your goal is to like find technology, send it back to the Alliance and stuff, and hope the Alliance doesn't break out into war again.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, no.
A couple other ones he mentions are the Twilight Struggle digital version, which ended, I think, but that's cool, of course.
Once again, back to our digital gaming idea.
Right, it all comes together. And one called Forge War, which did end, but at least for the next few days, you can still go to their website and pre-order it and still get the Kickstarter price. I think after that, it's only like $5 more. But it's still out there, but that's like a adventure, dungeon, quest
Euro
kind of
game.
Yeah, which
you actually like, apparently you gather the resources, build your weapons, then go into the fight.
And he also responded to, we mentioned Coinage a while back, and apparently some of the guys from Tasty Minstrel Games are actually in Troy's gaming group, which is kind of cool. So he's got a link to the.
Jealous.
So they have another game which we actually didn't mention. I posted it on the site, but Harbor, which still has a little more than a week left. So there's still plenty of time to go get it. Which is like a fantasy kind of trading building game, which unlike there were a couple that we mentioned last week that are more expensive. This one's only $20, which is always
very
nice.
Good. Wow.
Yeah, and it looks pretty fun. So check that out as well. We'll put all the links down below. But anyway, we thank you, Troy, for for your feedback and giving us your suggestions.
We hope to hear from you again. And in fact, you other viewers, and Troy as well, give us your party themes if you've done anything.
Troy, you gave us one already. Give someone else a chance.
Let's hear what other people have to say.
Yes, please, party themes, your ideas, your Kickstarters that you like, any other topic we've talked about. Send us an email, rollforcrit@gmail.com. Or you can even go to our website and there's a contact form right there.
There's also our Twitter account.
There sure is.
@rollforcrit. Or our personal Twitters, @DoraKiryu.
Mine is @Quentz. And of course, @IvanRhan. And don't forget to do all that other great stuff like subscribe on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like our video on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think that about wraps up. And of course, check out our website, rollforcrit.com, where we have all this news posted and we sell games too, by the way.
Yeah, and perfect for when you're planning those parties.
Minor detail. Yes, absolutely. We have tons of games to play.
Plenty of games. All right, so I think that sums up this week.
I think so too.
All right, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. This has been the Roll for Crit podcast.